Welcome to Creating Success in the Mess, where we talk about just that, creating success in the mess of this thing we call life.
We're your hosts, Corey and Whitney, a husband and wife team that does life and business together.
In this podcast, we share our struggles and funny moments as we have journeyed growing our family, our faith, and businesses.
We share inspiration, motivation, and practical tips and tricks to help you build yourself and a life you love.
We invite you to join us every week on the podcast, and we can't wait to create success in the mess together. Okay, welcome back to this episode. I am excited to hear all about this special topic from Leslie. I know you've been implementing this into your life, and I haven't, just quite upfront. I haven't necessarily been implementing this, so I'm super excited to kind of learn more about it and how you can implement it, because I do believe in what it does for you in so many ways. And so I think it would be beneficial and helpful for us all. And I can't wait to hear all about how you are implementing this and the things that it does for you. So the topic is decluttering, right? Decluttering your space and what it does for you, and how to just kind of, in a way, kind of like Marie Kondo the unnecessary stuff in your life. When you first started telling me about this, I was like, oh, I live a fairly minimal life. I don't have a lot of stuff. I couldn't even probably accomplish that task specifically anyway, because I don't even have that much stuff. And then I was like, oh, I'm free and clear. And then the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, no, I probably need to investigate this a little more. So why don't you tell us better about what this is?
Sure. No, absolutely. I do want to first say, because you kind of touched on this just isn't about making space in your house. This is about making space in your head, is how I try to explain it to my daughter, because she would be a hoarder if I let her. She really would. And she gets that from her grandmother and from me to an extent, which is why I've been focusing so much on working on this. The reason I say it clears your head is this weighs people down. When it becomes too much stuff, it's overwhelming and it's hard to start. It just seems like such an attainable task that you're not going to get to. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people don't start because of that. And I've even been doing some reading up, and there's a lot of studies that show a link between clutter and feeling anxious, depressed, unfocused, even socially isolated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I think in my house in particular, I don't have a ton of stuff per se, because I definitely like those blank spaces. And so my husband often jokes, and he's like, it looks like we just moved in and we haven't exactly got everything up and going ready, but for me, I need the blank space. I need some space in the room. So if it's not, I do feel that anxious feeling like you're describing.
Yep. I feel like that when I walk into my kitchen. I feel like kitchens, because they serve so many purposes. It's not just where you cook, it's where you eat, it's where you talk while someone might be cooking. It's, and there's all the appliances on the counters, but it doesn't have to be that way for sure. Right. But that one, I know when I walk into my kitchen, I feel anxious.
Yeah.
And lastly, I just want to say that, again, with these studies, there is a link to trauma and clutter. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it could stem from a fear of letting go, letting go of more things, or maybe you didn't have things when you were growing up. So that's some of the background that I started looking into before I started tackling this myself and trying to get my family involved. You need your family involved. This is not something you can do by yourself, especially if you have kids, because it's so easy to just go in there and just do their room, right? On your own.
Sometimes it's if I just do it without them, it'll just, I don't have to argue about it, or we don't have to discuss why we need to keep it, or so it is sometimes easier.
Oh yeah. And faster and everything, but you're not teaching them anything. Mm-hmm. And you're not modeling that behavior. Mm-hmm. So what I do with my daughter is we do like a section at a time. We'll be like, all right, let's tackle this whole area over here where you have your dresser, you've got all of these, things on top that are important to you. You've shoved a few things underneath that you think I don't know about. Let's kind of work on this. And for her, that makes it a lot easier, and she'll do it, and then she'll be like, Mom, you were right. I feel better. Like, I
Right.
feel like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders.
Right. And I love how you said, like, we're going to tackle a section together, because I think oftentimes we do have the emotions that go with these things. And we are, we do have all this stuff that we are piling for whatever reason. Maybe we feel like, we're not going to get it back, or if we let go of it, then, it's like a fear of attachment, or, all these emotional situations go with the reason why we have these things sitting there. And I love how you said, we'll do this together, because I think that teaches, the support, because you don't actually have to, need to, or should walk through all of these emotional, infused things alone. And so I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's so much more motivating for a child to be told, like, if you're like, hey, go clean your room, go declutter, they go in there, they start maybe for 10 minutes, and then they're playing with all these toys they found, right?
Yes.
Or they go in there and they're like, they don't know where to start because they are alone and they don't feel supported. So I have found that while it's quicker to do it myself,
Yeah.
while it's slower to send her alone, the best place is in the middle where we both do it.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So before I get too off topic, let's talk about this. The first thing that you need to do is set up 2 piles, trash, and either donate or sell. If you are going to sell things, I know a lot of people will sell on Marketplace, or they have a yard sale. Give yourself a goal that you will not hold on to those things for more than a month. So if you say, hey, I want to have a yard sale, I could make a little money, great. But within a month, you need to have that yard sale. Otherwise, it's a pile somewhere else in your house.
Yes. So like an expiration time frame.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. So the system that I've used is the 3 M's of decluttering. And the first one is mindset. You have to be ready to let go of things. You have to believe that by doing this, you're giving yourself a better quality of life. If you're not in that mindset yet, you could be successful. I don't think you'll be as successful. So It's definitely about understanding that this task is going to bring you something that you need. And again, I'll reference my daughter. She's like, Mom, you were right. I feel better. I feel like a little less overwhelmed, a little less like there's, added weight on my shoulders. So that was actually the best feedback I could get from her, because it helped us to go to, okay, let's tackle this area now.
Right.
So mindset, so important. The next M would be method. There are a lot of methods out there.
Yeah.
I suggest is Googling it, decluttering methods, reading up on a few and deciding what best fits your lifestyle. How much do you have to get rid of? What system sounds the most appealing to you? I will tell you, I mean, you mentioned Marie Kondo. Does the item spark joy? You could definitely do that method. I know with her, she suggests one category at a time. So you don't tackle a room at a time. You tackle clothes, then you tackle paper, you tackle kitchen. I don't remember exactly how she does it, but it's a little bit different. I love the laundry basket method. I don't know what it's called. That's what I call it.
The laundry basket method.
Yeah, the laundry basket method. And
this is where, when you were telling me about it, I was like,
yes,
I don't even have that much. Like that would never work for me.
This is great for people who either, like you, don't have as much stuff, but you have some, or maybe you don't have a ton of time, because we're mompreneurs, we're stay-at-home moms, we're moms working from home. Like, you don't always have a ton of time to do a huge decluttering project. So with this method, literally you have a box or a laundry basket, and you can either go to a room and complete that, fill up that basket, and then you're either done for the day, or if you have more time, do another room. Or as you're just doing regular cleaning in your house, maybe it's your vacuuming, dusting day, again, have a laundry basket, and just as you're walking through the different areas, you fill it up. Once you fill that basket up, that's, you've accomplished something. You can call it one basket a day, one basket a week, whatever works for you. But being able to, just walk around and put things in it, I think is a really easy method for people who, like I said, don't have as much stuff, or time is a problem, or their, the commitment level is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I just like that method. It works for me.
Right.
This last one is probably, I would say, my second favorite, because it appeals to, or it works for rather, all of the things that we have that we're like, but I might need this one day. If I throw this out, I'm going to need it next week.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sure I can just put it in this cabinet and close the door and no one will see it. And then when I need it, it's there. So this is called the 20/20 rule. If you can replace it in less than 20 minutes and for less than $20, then it should go in either the donate, or, well, I would say it's probably a donate. It's not a trash. So this is so great, like I said, for all of these things where, you're getting stuck because you feel like, this is something I've barely used or something I might need. So the 20/20 rule is really great for that. And I know that somebody, and I should credit them, but I don't remember their name, actually added on to that rule and called it the 20/20/20 rule. And that last 20 is to use for anything digital. So all of the apps on your phone that you've never touched, you don't even know what some of them are, games your kids don't play anymore, whatever the case may be, that can apply to cleaning up your phone, cleaning up your iPad, stuff like that.
Yeah. So when you first, were telling me about all of this, and I was so cocky thinking that I didn't need it in my house, which, by the way, there are places that I have discovered, like, like this drawer, pretty much I could get like 100 items out of this drawer,
Yeah, exactly.
But my garage is one of those places that is kind of over there that just has some empty boxes and just has some, just clutter and stuff laying around. But my main thought went to my business, like where I work every day. And so, like, while I don't have this need in my house as much, my business, my work life, my professional setting, that's where I'm holding my stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you worked on it. You want to, you want to get money for it. You don't want to donate it, right?
Right.
So maybe,
or I have, like, a piece of wood that I might use one day, or I have like a notebook that has like where I've taken chicken scratch and I might need to go back and re-look at the exact time, date, and name, and it's just like like, let it go.
right. Yep. Because I think we have those small items too in the type of business that you have, a lot of, like, I would say, staging items. And if they're not moving, if people aren't buying them, maybe upcycle it to something else too, but definitely look around your business and see, okay, what can I move? What can I get rid of? What can I, put on clearance and sell faster? That kind of stuff, I think, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. The last M is mission. This is where you really need to make sure you're taking action to put everything that you've just thought about, that you've just decided about, like your method, whether your family's involved or not, you put that into motion. And what I can tell you is this can be a point, well, this whole process, there can come a point where there's some frustration. Sometimes people will and I've been guilty of this, go into a room and just decide I'm going to tackle this room, and you pull everything out of the dresser drawers or out of the closets or out of the the storage bins that you have, and you're feeling great, right? You've got your piles, your trash, your donate, and then the coffee wears out or the momentum wears out, and you're looking around and there's stuff everywhere, and now you have to figure out where to put all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that's why I think method is really important. I don't think we should go into a room and pull everything out. I really don't. I think that we should go area by area. Maybe it's just that we're filling the laundry basket, but whatever it is we're doing, I would not recommend that, because I think that's where we start to feel not as good about it, because we're looking around at all the work we have to put it back together. And I mean, I've seen people just kind of walk away at this point. They're tired, right? It was a lot of work. So I would say, try not to get stuck into that, that kind of situation. I think that's demotivating for sure.
Yeah, I think that point of, it's an overwhelming task to begin with. And so you have to go into it with kind of the right structure, which is your 3 M's. Like you have to kind of have a game plan. You wouldn't go into a game with no game plan. And this is essentially a game, so like I always think of it in correlation to, when okay, the football team, I don't play football, but when they go out on the field, they have like the game plans, like they have a whole binder of different like scenarios and situations, and they've, addressed their like mindset pre-game, and they have like this whole method that they do before they get on the field. And so a lot of times I think that we think like, we know internally, like we know that we have stuff, and we know that that's going to be work going through that, and it's going to be emotional detaching from that and getting rid of that. And then the overwhelm is going to set in because it's all now vomited all over the room, and then you're over it and you're tired and you're frustrated, and it just needs to be put back up. And so then you're not, you do all this work and you get it all out, and then you halfway just kind of put some of it back in and some of it, goes. And so I think like to have this structure and this framework and this game plan going into decluttering anything, like, we do this when we're decluttering our mind and our emotions and stuff. It's the exact same thing as like your environment with the things. And so I think that a lot of times we forget to have this game plan, to have these 3 M's of decluttering, these,
Yep, we just go into a room and just pull it all out.
Right. And then we get frustrated because maybe it didn't turn out as successful or, profitable or, as we hoped it was going to. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So hopefully, like going into it now, you can think mindset, method, mission. Like simple as that. Mindset, method, mission.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I would just say, lastly, as your spaces look so much better, as you've got, like you said, you've got all this space, and Corey's kind of like, well, should we buy some stuff? Like, it doesn't look like we live here. As you have that space, the instinct is to put something there now, right? It's like, oh, hey, I can get that beautiful vase I saw because I've got the space now. You have to resist that urge and just live in that lifestyle for a little while and see if it does really work for your family, if it feels better. And then when something special happens, a trophy, your son's soccer team trophy, or I know my daughter, her school here, they do artwork and then they send it into a company and we can turn it into all sorts of different things. And I know I always buy a matted frame picture of what she drew. And so now I have a space for that versus, seeing something at a store, wanting to buy it and put it there.
Right. Yeah. And I think like, for me, it is a lot of times, back to the beginning when you were talking about a lot of times we have emotion connected to this. I think that the main goal of this is like anytime that you're wanting to move, like decluttering essentially is just moving energy. Like it's kind of, everything's got stagnant and everything's just kind of sitting and everything's just kind of piling up. And, at that point, you don't have room for anything else. Like you don't have room for your kids' soccer trophy and all of that. And so I think like this is like perfect to go into the mindset part, which is probably the key, like initial important step to it all, is to know that when you are getting rid of these things, or you're moving things out, or you're sharing them with others by donating them, all you're doing is moving energy and making space so that you can receive more. And a lot of times I think we come at it from the place of like your 2020, can you replace it in 20 minutes? Can you, like, that is kind of, helpful for that, coming at it from a lack or scarcity of, well, what if I need this? Well, what if I, like that's a whole place of lack and scarcity. And so instead of like focusing on that point, if we can remember, apply the 2020 rule, and then remember, like, I'm just making space to receive whatever. And so, maybe that is just receiving peace inside. Maybe that is receiving less anxiety inside. Maybe that is receiving, like, whatever it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be you're receiving something tangible to replace that thing that now you're getting rid of. It's just you're moving energy around to receive, instead of focusing on the lack and scarcity emotion of it all. Yep. Which I think is the whole point of decluttering, is kind of like move out the things that no longer serve you, so that you have space for the things that do serve you, that do feel good. Yep. And I think we do this in our home and our kids' room and our business, and then of course all inside of us also.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I would say that I think another place where people get stuck, besides the I barely use this, I might need it one day thing, is but this is a memory. I remember buying this with my best friend, or I'm hesitant to say, my grandmother gave me this, because I don't want to encourage people to throw out things like that unless they feel like they're ready to. But so we'll just use, I had a great time with my best friend at the store when we bought this. You're not throwing out the memory.
Exactly.
The memory is always going to be there.
Right.
And that's what you need to hold on to, not whether or not you still have that item from 5 years ago that's collecting dust.
Yes.
You'll have that memory.
Exactly right. It's not the thing, it's the emotion, it's the feeling, that memory gives you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so with my daughter, and I keep referencing her because this is a real struggle for her. And so that's kind of why I started doing it around the house, is I felt like we needed it. And I felt like, I think she'll see not just me doing it, but how much better I feel, how much, less anxious I feel. With her, on these things that are a little tough for her to throw out or donate, she has me take a picture of her holding it.
Mm-hmm.
And I at first was like, my phone's going to fill up pretty fast. But I soon realized that was what she needed. She just she didn't need me to also be up there assisting. She needed me to help her preserve that memory so that she could let the item go.
Yes. Right. And I think that is so good. And I think that's such a reminder to us all that we're not losing any memory, and we're not losing any of the positive, happy feeling that we all like strive for all day long. Like we're not throwing any of that away. It's all in here, and it's all going to be accessed in the middle of a store, or, wherever it is, and not necessarily just because we have that thing sitting in a room in our house that we don't ever actually even see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So this is my method. I'm sure there's a million other good things that people follow that I'd love to hear about. But for me, over the last few months, this is what's been working for us.
Yeah. So I am so grateful that you shared this, because I know there's so many people that are stuck in that overwhelming feeling, and that, just needing to make space for new. So that, like, you get to a point where you're just kind of like, I just need some space. I just need, something new. I just need a change. And so sometimes I think this is like a tangible way to start just moving that energy and moving that emotion, and, just actually making the space, like making the space that, one, you deserve, one, or two, that you need, and three, that will make you available to receive, everything else along the way. So I hope that, this is really helpful to everybody that is sitting in a place in their home or their car or their office or their garage or their shed, or, whatever it is. And you just feel that overwhelming sense of like, oh, I really should tackle this. Like, oh, I really need to do something with this. That overwhelming like feeling, like, I hope this like really helps you implement the 3 M's. This is your game plan. This is your structure and your strategy. And this is what you're going to take with you into that room, in that laundry basket or that shed or whatever, so that you can start space emotionally, physically, all the ways, so that you can, start feeling better and living better and receiving more or receiving different.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think receiving energy, which I think you referenced.
Yeah.
I think I try not to think too much about receiving more, because I feel like that's like adding in more things. Unless it's something that, like I said, a trophy. Like, I want to display that. I don't want to have, so many things covering it, because there's too many things. But I think that the receiving the positive energy is a big one.
Right.
Absolutely.
And getting to put that trophy up on the shelf, that was already full of something else. At that point, you're receiving every day a positive feeling. So if you didn't have the space to put that trophy up there, then you wouldn't be able to receive that joy and that positivity when you look at it, when you pass it every day. And so I think you're right. Like, receiving isn't necessarily putting more stuff in there. Like, don't clean it out and then just go put that vase back in there. Like, look at it, how you can use that space to receive joy, happiness, entertain people, which is community. Like, there's so many things that you actually can receive from it. And we're not talking about actual things, like the energy and the emotion and the feelings that you could receive from having the space.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to hear all about your decluttering. We want to hear your favorite method, what works for you, and everything is going to work different for somebody else. Like, for me, I go through it and it's like, is this giving me joy because I'm really attached to the feelings? Maybe it's the laundry basket method that you implement while you're already cleaning. Maybe it's something totally different, but there's a million different, actual methods of doing it. And so we want to hear about your method and what works for you. And then we want to hear about what you feel like after you get it done. Like, what is that you go through when you're doing this, and then the feeling that happens after you have made this space or you have cleared this out. So you can go over to our social media channels. You can leave a voice memo right here on the podcast. You can leave a comment here on the podcast. You can email, whatever it is that you need. Just like look down in the description, and it gives you all of the different contact methods that you can do. But we really want to hear like what you take from this, doing this in your life, because I think that there's so many different points of coming at it. And so if you share your way or your method or your feeling, I think that it will help us all continue down this journey that can sometimes feel overwhelming, but is really necessary.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening. We know that we all get busy trying to do life, and our hope is that we can find ways to implement time and space to create a life we love living every day on our terms, right in the middle of all the messes of life.
We hope that you've been inspired and our conversation has helped you in some way, and it would be so amazing if you share this conversation with somebody that you think would really benefit from hearing it. You can text someone the link, or you can share it via email or on your social media pages. And please, we would love for you to leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, because it helps us so much. The more reviews we have, the more people that will find our show, and our ultimate goal is for everyone to feel inspired, to find ways to create their own success right in the middle of all the mess. And no, they are not alone in doing so.
And finally, we'd love for you to join our weekly email list so that we can connect on a deeper level and you can always be in the know of our new release events and opportunities.